Good morning, and thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup on BQ Prime. I'm Neeraj Shah, and it's a continuation day, you would have to admit, considering how the world markets have done. So let's first take stock of the global news flow, right? Joe Biden is set to meet with advisors to discuss cutting China tariffs. Could that help in inflation in the US and therefore the overall commentary at large? Maybe it could. Bloomberg actually has a story that this will not have a big impact. Now, who knows, really? But important to get the news. China is preparing for a fresh round of economic stimulus. Some sounds of this came in yesterday as well. The official reportage on Bloomberg came in post-market hours. They're talking about a sum of about $220 billion. So if that were to happen, that could be actually positive news for metals at large. I reckon that is why metals reacted partly in trade yesterday as well. So keep that in mind. Elon Musk's proposed acquisition of Twitter may fall apart after his doubts over bots. This is important. A lot of you watch us on Twitter, aside of course, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and our website. So important to mark that as well. And oil has jumped as the tight supply outweighs recession fears. So while it was sub 100, it is inched up higher. It is still headed for its worst week in a really long time. But both Brent and NYMEX are above the $100 per barrel mark. So keep that in mind. Having said all of that, and despite some hawkish commentary from a couple of Fed officials, you just sense that the market is in a mood to kind of build on for the near term at least. Just look at those gains for the Dow, the S&P, and the Nasdaq in particular. Really strong show put up by there. A bit of a risk on there is showing in the way Bitcoin has moved to. So Bitcoin prices are up above 21,000 now, 22,107. Dollar index steady, US 10-year yield steady at 3. So nothing changed there on the key macros, but risk on currently on. And it could be very, somebody used this phrase, viewers. By the way, let's first look at the SGX Nifty, and then I'll bring that on during the trade setup. This is the SGX Nifty, which points to a start in the green yet again. It's about 120 odd points. So building on from where we left off yesterday, because yesterday too we closed at the highest point of the day. And frankly, if you just look at the texture of the market yesterday, we only get you 7 stocks, but the market breadth at 382 to 113, or the nature of the gains versus the nature of losses. A beaten down Star Health, a Credit Suisse note comes out, that stock gains 16% intraday, about 12% at close. Great going. See it. I mean, the crude cool off is, remember we spoke about this yesterday as well, that the crude cool off is impacting the ONGCs in the whole Indias negatively and impacting the users positively. So see it, and some of the others doing really well. There's some NBFCs and banks came into play as well. NBCC, remember we spoke about at the fag end of trade setup yesterday that somebody told the Economic Times that the company will get about 1,500 crore rupees from a share sale. So the market is latching on to good news, which is a sure sort sign that the near term shorting is a bad idea. Even if you're circumspect about going long, don't go short immediately. There might still be some time to do that if the markets were to correct. I have no idea. So what's the trade setup for the day? Frankly, to my mind, the markets are clinging on to gains with intraday dips getting bought into. Somebody used the term that could we see exuberant bulls and arrested bears? Big question. Likely that index may consolidate after a big up move today. Remember, from nearly 15,200 odd, we'll now be at 16,300. That's a near one-way 1,000-point move. Not one way, there's a brief interlude in between, but you can argue that it didn't have too many dips from those levels. So a near one-way 1,100-point move, you might believe that the index may consolidate, and which is why I personally think that now the trade might be better in individual stocks as opposed to trading the index. The last few days, a lot of very smart money has actually traded the index and the bank nifty, and people still believe the bank nifty could have something in store because it's not rallied as much as the nifty. But keep in mind, now it might be the turn of individual stocks, and you sense some bit of a risk on in the way Bitcoin is done, in the way metal prices did yesterday as well, right? Some really smart move in the Nifty Metal Index. It's from a technical parlance. Let's get the trade setup played. From the technical parlance, it's closed above the 20-day EMA, and therefore chartists say that Nifty Metal could actually do well. So let's wait and watch. It's also formally we kind of kickstart earnings today with the big boy TCS coming out with numbers. So that is something you watch out for. The commentary on client IT spending is the key for TCS in the end of Q1. So that is something that everybody would be watching out for. What about stocks to monitor today? Well, I think Mahindra & Mahindra are likely to be the stock of the day today. It's not as large a deal as Tata Motors did, right? But here's the deal. They're going to sell a stake in the EV arm to British International Investment PLC. So therefore, M&M will incorporate a wholly owned subsidiary to undertake the four-wheeler passenger car business. They will transfer the EV assets to a new EV company. British International PLC will invest about 1925 crores in the EV company. And remember, M&M has invested close to about 400 crores thus far in that business. So this was long spoken about that they will do from the prices of about 700, 750 or 800 on M&M. This has been spoken about from there. M&M has traversed quite a bit already, but I still believe that this could make it a stock in reckoning. In percentage terms, it may not do as well as some of the small caps or mid caps could, but it well turns out to be a stock of the day to watch out for. इसके चलते चलते I thought even Tata Motors could react, but Tata Motors has the lower JLR sales news to contend with today, which is I'm not quite speaking about Tata Motors in the same way, but everything related to EVs could do well. By the way, interestingly, I must tell you before we move on to the next piece of news that CLSA has come under the note on TVS too. Now remember, TVS is an aggressive EV player in the two-wheeler side. They, of course, saying that the Ronin launch, which is the new one that they've launched, makes the entry into cruisers, their motorcycle segment, and they therefore raise the volume and the earnings estimates on the back of the launch. They have raised the target price to 922 on a roll forward of estimates to FY24, I reckon. But therefore, TVS Motors is the other auto stock in focus. A couple of pharma stocks in focus. Dr. Reddy's, they've been issued a Form 483 with 2 observations. Inspection was carried out at the AP facility, and the company said that it will address the issues within the stipulated time. Who knows? Maybe it reacts. Alchem is the other one on the pharma side. That and a few other stocks, but Alchem in particular, they received a Form 483 with 1 observation for the manufacturing plant in Indore. Alchem is a fairly heavy domestic-centric company, but in case both of these stocks react, then you know why. Now, very difficult to say how bad the observations are. At least I don't have access to that, and therefore I can't say. So I won't say whether the stock will react positively or negatively. But yeah, do watch out. The nature of the observations might have a bearing. Hindustan Zinc, Dipam has invited bids from banks to manage the stake sale, keeps the stock in focus. Everready, formally and finally, board has passed on the resolution to formally designate the Burman family as promoters. Sorry, I missed the terms as promoters, but they will be designated as promoters on the board of Everready. So therefore, watch out for that. And Tata Power, they plan about 75,000 crore rupees as investment in the renewable space in the next 5 years. Everything around renewables, EVs, what have you, could be in focus today, and therefore keep these at the back of your mind too. Power grid, I believe there is low or zero impact on Power Grid, but I may be wrong. But I still believe this news doesn't have a big impact on Power Grid, the stock. What has happened is that CBI has arrested the company's executive director and 5 others in connection with alleged bribery. They apparently favored a private company, apparently Tata Projects, and CBI has recovered some 93 lakh rupees from the premises of Mr. Jha in Gurugram. So this is a serious case, yes, for the personnel involved there. The brand Power Grid, I don't think gets impacted. If there is a sentimental impact, maybe there could be, but frankly, because it's moving around in so many groups about, what's happening at Power Grid, we know these things happen. I doubt that Power Grid as a stock will get impacted too much. I just thought we'll bring it to you. Again, Vakrangi, it's a business model that I've never quite understood, but the numbers have come out, and on a QOQ basis, the numbers looked horrendous. Just thought we'll bring to you. Revenues up 8%, but EBIT fell 87. EBIT margin collapse, net profit collapse. Some would argue that some who track Vakrangi well, if they do, could argue that this should be a YOY comparison. But nevertheless, like I said, I don't understand the business model as much, but just thought we'll bring to you the quarter-on-quarter numbers for Vakrangi as well. Some analyst calls that have come in on Shree Cement, Lupin, and ICICI Lombard. Shree Cement has been raised to a hold at Jefferies, Lupin to reduce at Centrum. ICICI Lombard is a buy at Motilal Oswal with a price target of 1,500. Remember, this is on the back of Credit Suisse. Also giving a coverage on ICICI Lombard yesterday, as a result of which both Star Health and ICICI Lombard were active. And today, Motilal Oswal is a buy on ICICI Lombard, so watch out for this one. Now, viewers, there are some queries around some NBFCs, Centrum Capital, etc. I mean, I can't have particular stock views, but I must bring you some brokerage views, if not on a particular stock, then on the space, right? So Goldman Sachs has come out with a note on banks. They are saying that India financials have underperformed the regional financials 6% YTD and are trading at 10-year average valuation gap despite earnings upgrades. They say they expect earnings momentum to continue. The current underperformance provides an opportunity to add. Their buy calls, interestingly though, are SBI, ICICI, and Kotak, all banks. Their sells are Bajaj Finance and SBI Card. Somehow on NBFCs, the view may not be as constructive as banks. So keep that at the back of your mind. So sorry, I don't have a view on Centrum Capital, but yeah, this is it. What's the impact of some of the news flow, for example, on Tata Power, right? There's so many people asking about Tata Power. Again, I think I did a show with maybe Rakesh or somebody who was very underweight on Tata Power. Or actually, there's a brokerage note on Tata Power some days back, which said that Tata Power doesn't deserve such a high multiple because most of its business over the next few years is utility business, and utility businesses can't get such a high multiple. A commodity business, sorry, and it can't get such a high multiple, and therefore that brokerage, I think it was Goldman Sachs or CLSA, but they went underweight on Tata Power. So that's the limited piece, but they're investing a large sum of money in renewables, and if that piece picks up, you never know. This is a PTI report, of course, today's note, but yeah, keep that at the back of your mind. What I can do though is a bunch of these queries we'll try and get in our expert to answer today at 9:30 a.m. Gautam Shah, he tracks charts as closely as anybody that I know and has been spot on number of occasions over the last 12 months in identifying swing positions or change in trends. After a 1100 point move on the Nifty as of this morning at 9:20 a.m., if the Nifty does what the SGX Nifty is indicating, it'll be interesting to understand from him whether he believes that there is some more in store or whether there could be some bit of a pullback and what within individual pockets could do well. So you want to hear some chart and some trading calls, maybe this could be a good idea. We of course don't do a buy, sell, hold conversation, but yeah, the conversation with Gautam is something that I always look forward to. And it's a pertinent day to get him since it's the weekend, since so much has happened over the last 10 days. So might be a good conversation for everybody to watch out for. And net, index may start off higher, but if index does consolidate at those higher levels, maybe not extreme bearishness as yet, maybe there's a lot of juice left into individual stocks. So that's a pocket that you may want to fish for. Watch out for autos today, watch out for some bit of pharma today, and watch out for metals in particular. Completely beaten and bruised, has had a bit of an up move yesterday. Maybe there could be more in store. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Have a great weekend, everybody.